Welcome back to the lower bracket finals as we just saw PSG absolutely destroy J-Team on the other hand, especially from the top side as Hanabi was 8,000 gold ahead of his opponents. Before we go deeper into the matchup, another big thank you to our sponsors in CTBC Bank and Caliber. This time around, to set the stage, we do have J-Team willingly going for the red side. So I want you to illuminate me about what you think is going to happen in the draft because something has to be done to Hanabi.
Yeah, I think they'll either save or hopefully we'll see them save counterpick for driver, or we get attention thrown onto Hanabi's champion pool. The big three, of course, the Gnar, Ornn, and the GP, those are going to be the big focuses going into the second phase. Maybe they decide to take one of those champions on R3 and then double ban the other two. That could be a possibility. So I think there are a number of ways J-Team could go about it. It's just a matter of, we saw them in, a very top focused DCG matchup, or at least DCG were very top side focused, and they didn't necessarily make the correct adaptations there either, at least from the draft phase. So they need to take some of those teachings that they got from the previous series yesterday and actually apply them. We need to see some sort of focus on this GP, especially.
So I want to go down and explore another route. If they just look at this top lane and say, well, it's a bit of a lost cause, are any of the other lanes worth like heavily investing in? Because the way they actually came through DCG was not actually adjusting anything topside, was just doubling down on making sure Uniboy won against the enemy mid laner.
Yeah, I think another possibility could just be dropping the Ahri ban, which, while Bay has played it a lot, and that's probably a very efficient champion for them because he can make rotations around the map and make plays. I think that actually opens up Driver's champion pool even more so, and Uniboy isn't going to get punished in this matchup because we saw in their adaptation against Beyond Gaming, if Ahri gets locked in and you have an 80 top laner, 80 jungle, 80 carry, then you can just go for something like a Malphite, and the Ahri doesn't do enough damage to burst out a target like a Malphite.
And Driver has already played the Malphite in this season. He does have the Scion, the Aatroxes, the Jax. There's still a lot that he can get out here. But so far, the draft looks exactly the same to Game 1 here. If I'm PSG, I gotta feel pretty happy about this one.
We're gonna see the Nautilus locked in, yup. PSG, I definitely think they should lock in the Volibear, still a very powerful jungler. You can consider changing things up perhaps on this next pick. That'll be the real telling point. Do they go back towards the Leona, or do they perhaps early pick the GP here? Of course, there are plenty of counter picks against the GP, but a lot of them sacrifice team composition, right? You can lock in something like a Lucian or an Akshan to dominate the GP, but then you are running a double 80 carry comp. So for J-Team now, what do they do with this third pick? That'll be also telling. Do they throw it? Okay, they instead don't go for the double flex of Graves and go for more of the team fighting Hecarim pick here.
This is not a replay, ladies and gentlemen. We just proved it right there.
We are live.
Yeah, we had 11 champion bans and picks the same, but finally Hecarim does break the trend here. We're also going to see if GP is going to be on the ban list. For this rotation, PSG did ban out the, I believe it was mid lane that they targeted, but this time around, they're going to go for the Jace bans. One of Driver's better champions. He has been able to play this one blind as well, so PSG are not going to chance it. And this is what we're all waiting for. Ornn or GP. You got to pick one of them. You can only go with one. It's going to be the GP. Yes, I don't want to see another game like Game 1. I think I was traumatized by Hanabi.
Yeah, and here you can go for the GP ban and just go ahead, snag up the Ornn yourself. So for PSG, they might have identified that as well. And considering to ban the Ornn, which I would fully expect J-Team to then go ahead, lock in the Renekton. But now we actually get the Orianna banned out here. So maybe looking to snag up the Rise this time around. For the second phase, go for a more tempo-oriented composition. And for J-Team, what do they go ahead and lock in here? I think it should just be the Ornn, but they've decided that they want the Syndra instead.
Yeah, the Syndra's interesting. It definitely is one of Uniboy's best champions, but so far it doesn't look like it fits with the rest of the composition. You got the Hecarim and the Nautilus looking to go in, and Syndra on a very different game plan for the most part. PSG, though, now they have to showcase their mid laner. There really isn't a champion here that is completely unafraid of Syndra. They're going to go with LeBlanc, so keeping things lower to the ground here. And here comes that top lane pick. You did talk about, potentially Malphite at some points. Do you think that's still going to be viable here?
Against the backline of Philios and Syndra, I think it's actually really, really strong, but it looks like currently they are looking at this Tryndamere. Now turning their attention to maybe more of a 1-3-1, 1-4 composition with some of these pick hovers. They actually lock in the Renekton. I think the Ornn, while compositionally fits really well, it does pigeonhole yourself into quad AP or quad magic damage threats, right? You have the Ornn, Volibear, Leona, and LeBlanc all doing magic damage. So I think that's the read coming in from PSG, and that's why they've turned towards the Renekton themselves. And for J-Team, they are very comfortable with just setting driver on this Gragas pick, which I think is just going to outperform this Renekton overall.
I have to say this draft looks very familiar to what I've seen from the PSG versus DCG series. They also ran Renekton, I believe, into Volibear as well, and they just hard camped top lane. The double hard crowd control into a tank jungler earlier on, does make life very difficult here, and they don't have a superior jungle in the Hecarim to ward off the Volibear either, so this could be another game where Hanabi just shows you how to play top lane and show you how to play Renekton too.
Yeah, and I still favor this PSG roster. Yes, it doesn't have quite as much scaling as we saw in the previous game, but draft-wise, you have to like what PSG can do with this composition. They're going to be able to snowball around these side lanes. We know Bay most likely is just going to go for something like the Everfrost to just try and get more picks. But if it does get to that late game scaling point, J-Team, you have an incredibly high damage backline with the Philios and the Syndra, and this is a much more playable game, in my opinion, from this Philios standpoint.
We're heading on into game 2. If PSG take this one, they march it forward towards game point, and that would be tremendous pressure on J-Team here. They are fighting for their chance to break PSG's hold over the PCS. We're going to see what happens here in game number 2. Heading on to the Rift, let's take a look at what the level 1s will be like. PSG are huge favorites of dropping wards down into early bushes here. We've seen this almost every start from Kaiwing. And so, he spots something. He spotted a silhouette just pop out of the brush right there, and he instantly backs off.
Yeah, thankfully, I mean, both supports get there pretty quickly down into that bot lane bush. If he was any slower, definitely would have been caught out there. And yeah, as things stand, with a quiet early game, J-Team will eventually come out on top. So PSG do need to be pretty proactive in this early game with this Volibear pick. Juhan can't play the slow game he's tended to opt towards more often than not. He has to be very active here. Play around this Leona, play around this Renekton, and I mean, the possibilities are pretty easy, right? Because you have so much chain CC potential that you can definitely imagine a world where they're able to burn early flashes and get a lot of early kills to get the ball rolling.
They ran this exact strategy against the Leaky. Renekton does get wave control. Earlier on, we are seeing Enzo find that first dredge line, which he didn't find in the previous game. Now Hanabi with the Conquers. Already doing a lot of damage. He's almost up to Conquerors. Oh, he's got it already and
so
pops
hard.
the Q. Oh, Driver can't even walk towards the minions. He is supposed to lose a level 1. Let's watch this 2v2 though. Kaiwing going dangerously low, but he will stay alive. Little V going to heal up a little bit more with the red guns. And this fight is at least broken for now, but it does seem like PSG have a sizable lead here.
Yeah, they're pretty comfortable with the state of the lane, right? Because you exchange a chunk of HP on your Leona, but you trade it back onto the Philios. So while he is able to heal back with a little bit of Severum, you will have the level advantage because of that chunk onto a Philios. You can't walk up and push the wave back. So PSG will hit level 2, and that also means that they're going to have wave priority if they want to try and make a play into this bot side jungle with the Volibear.
Both junglers already hitting on the bot, but we do have the pings to indicate that PSG most likely has already spotted out the Hecarim, or at least suspect he's there. So they're not going to try anything overly risky, just roaming Kaiwing and Juhan at the same time to make sure they can keep tabs onto Kongre. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, we have a gank incoming. Bei comes in, finds the chain, but Unitboy plays it so confidently, waits on, and Driver now with a good trade onto Hanabi. Hanabi taken low, but still has a lot of fury here. Rage, excuse me. See if he uses it. And look at that CS difference. Hanabi might be low on HP, but he's certainly up on CS.
Yeah, thankfully, Driver gets a decent chunk of minions coming towards him here. And with Hecarim topside, I think that was a worry that PSG didn't chase that kill further because they didn't. They suspected where Kongre was, but they didn't actually see him on any ward. So they pull off on actually going for the flash play coming in from the Volibear to try and burn flash for flash on Uniboy.
Yeah, they don't fully commit to that one. Definitely could have found the flash for flash trade in their favor, but they played it a little bit safer right here. Meanwhile, in the top lane, we did get a glimpse of the wave, and it will be shoving out against Hanabi, giving him a lot of say on how he really wants to play this one. And that's one of the things that just some like fun flashful stuff. Their coaches used to make them go into custom games and just play with the minion wave, like not even solo queue, just try to control the minion waves the entire time and to get it where you want it to be. Like that was the fundamental skill that they needed their top laners to learn. I was very surprised about that because you usually see such dry practice, but definitely happened on Flash Balls. This time around, we do have the jungle staying around. Juhan is coming forward. Kaiwing blocks, and they get the flash away. So 2 summoners burned on the side of PSG. For 1 on J-Team, and J-Team seemed to be pretty fine with that. Now they have Korea coming in. He's not spotted just yet. PSG are setting a trap, but this could be a trap for themselves as well. Who gets the first shot in is going to decide a lot of this. Kaiwing finds the stun onto Enzo. Enzo falls down, but Little V trying to claw back some more. Juhan will drop, and now Little V trying to chase down Kaiwing. Unified, on the other hand, dealing damage, but Kongre is dishing out so much more. It's the double killer for him.
Bei's here.
Kaiwing has nowhere to go. Can Bei change the calculus? He will find 1 kill.
He's going to go down.
But Little V does have the gravitum here. He dodges out.
No flash.
The Q at the very least, but Uniboy is looking for that kill. He finds the stun. 1 more auto attack. They can't get it. He even goes back for the kill. What a play!
Okay.
Uniboy finally does find it in the end. It will be, my math is terrible on this one, 3 for 4 in favor of J-Team.
That was literally everyone dying down in that bot lane. If there were tombstones representing it, it would just be an absolute graveyard down there, as this bait goes really horribly wrong, I would say, for the side of PSG. J-Team, they have Kongren down there, and because you're missing the flash onto Unified, or, well, actually, Unified still has flash, so interesting there, but because of the position, it's so hard for Unified to actually get out of that, and with the ghost onto the Hecarim, it's just so hard to get away from that champion. And Bei, I mean, he plays it as well as he can
He cheats
in this instance, right? He doesn't have his W cooldown, so all he can do is really just run around, try and sidestep as much as he can. He buys enough time to actually get one kill back and burns the flash onto Uniboy as well. So at the end of it all, it's a lot of summoners burned, it's a lot of kills going down, but J-Team, they come out ever so slightly in that exchange.
Yeah, that last kill from Bay was absolutely ludicrous and totally worth it. He gets 2 kills on an assassin, and Little V, I just think he forgot he was taking tower. He just took 2 extra turret shots there to go down. So, you know, I don't think it's a decided lead for either side, but once again, I feel like PSG's bottom side is not playing up to their normal standards. They actually outbaited themselves on the first attempt and expended an extra summoner, and then Kaiwing doesn't even find the stun onto Little V on the second try either. So J-Team are able to turn that one, and we have seen Hecarim's actually just come up huge here. He does have the experience lead, the gold lead. He can pull off very frequent ganks right here. So this game looking a lot better for J-Team than the previous one.
Yeah, I mean, it's still going to be a phase rush. Hecarim, which I think is more about the early mid game rather than the full-on scaling. Just get more advantages early on and hopefully have that extra stat check that you're able to snowball into. Just pummeling the Volibear here, but as it stands now, see what he's able to do with this tier 2 boots, which is, you know, interesting because if we compare junglers, it's actually Juhan that has the item advantage. He has the completed Bomby Cinder against the double Ruby Crystal on Kongren.
Corey gonna try for a potential gank here, but Unified does hit level 6, plus he has both his summoners up. It's not gonna be an easy dive here. And now Bay tries to close the trap. He's looking for Kongren in his own jungle.
He expects
will run right into him. I'm pretty sure they spotted Kongren a little bit earlier, so Bay definitely was looking for that one. I think he was just kind of using himself as a bait, maybe. Juhan does get the Herald in the meantime, so strong win for PSG here.
Yeah, it looks like Bay, he still wants to try and make his way towards that bottom side, but Uniboy lands the stun.
Here comes the top lane.
Yeah. Could be a top lane dive setup, but it is a Gragas, a very difficult target to dive. So while things are going very, very well for Hanabi, he really needs to find a kill or a big team fight roam coming in from that teleport to really make his value known on this Renekton. Otherwise, it will eventually start to fizzle out. But Uniboy a little bit too far out.
Yeah, does he get caught right here? The stun does go down. Bay finds the chain, and Uniboy has nowhere to go. The Unleashed power not going to save him right there. A strong win for PSG once more. Kind of a baffling play from Uniboy, though, to be completely honest. Didn't expect him to try and punish this hard. PSG will hold on to the Herald and want to use that extra Baron recall just a while longer and hopefully get into a different lane.
Yeah, a bit of a little bit too tunneled in on trying to hard punish this matchup here, as he ends up falling because a little bit too far out in the lane without a flash, so gets easily punished. Even though Bay didn't have a whole lot of mana, not too hard to punish when you have a Volibear early levels with how much damage he does do, especially with the PTA. So now, as things stand, it's PSG opening up with a 1,000 gold lead. Again, most of that is going to come from this top side where it's a 30 CS lead or 40 CS lead here.
It's gotta be 40.
So, you know, Hanabi now committing to some dirty farming. We need to see how much pressure he's able to exert, because right now he is really, really strong. But Kongren zooming in, spotted out by the ward.
Driving by here against Bay. And, you know, I've been critical about a lot of these tempo champions from Bay, but if you give him 3 kills early on, he's still going to do LeBlanc things. This is a little bit worrying. The kill distribution is so nice for PSG. In this one, see J-Team try to hard force the issue in the bottom side. Top lane, if they can equalize, they're probably considering that a win. And we do have the second Drake just about to pop here in 1 minute time. PSG's bottom lane, we did see the trade they are able to dish out a lot of damage to Little V. But so far, the mythic item is still keeping that bot side in check. So more about PSG and where they find their spots in this one. Kongir, of course, they assume he's here. We just saw things go down.
Oh,
Let's
they
see
should
if
not
PSG
go for this
started
fight,
this
though.
one. Still baiting it out.
There's still an item advantage for Lil V here.
Oh, the ult goes down. Lil V uses both summoners.
Oh,
is
no,
not
they're all
trapped
dead.
in, and there comes the big wombo combo coming in. PSG, they serve themselves up on a platter, and J-Team say thank you very much.
Ah, I'm
Getting deja vu.
Oh,
We saw this
man.
in the series versus CFO. Exactly the same thing.
Yeah, they just tunneled way too hard for that dive play. They tried to get the gank off, and whenever you flash forward with the Feather Storm, that only spells really bad news in my opinion. So Unified on this, he was probably one of the better Sayas at the start, or when this pick first started appearing, and I feel like maybe we just look to put him back onto the Jinx where he has no choice but to sit back, guys.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at a replay of this one.
They know Kongir
Little
is
V-
here.
Yeah, they even pinged him out. So that's why I was so surprised at them going for this play. You know, beautiful Moonlight Vigil to cap off the damage here as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just on a absolute silver platter. So J-Team now, I mean, with this Hecarim, yes, you are still down in gold overall, but remember a lot of the gold deficit is going to be on this top side and against the Hullbreaker Renekton. I think this is a great adaptation from Hanabi and just saying, all right, I need to apply 131 pressure right now. So we get the Hullbreaker. The Gragas can't do anything here. It's going to have a lot more trouble trying to wave clear because of the extra Hullbreaker boost to my cannon minion. And now PSG setting up for this dragon.
And
I don't
so
think they
still
should
has
try and
flash.
contest it.
Yep. J-Team are going to escort them out this one. And I do want to talk about this trend here because this is how PSG lost Game 3 against CFO. They just took fights that they clearly had no business winning and went in again and again. So we have the fight start. Double TPs from their top lane right here. Hanabi and Driver land at about the same time. And it will be the Hecarim Kongir that gets the objective here. So J-Team can play through the Drake stack to cut back future strategies from PSG.
PSG, they look a little bit lost here because they take their Hullbreaker top laner and immediately teleport him down to the dragon fight right when he completes it, when he can get the most value out of this item at this point in time. And if Driver's forced to expend his teleport to match it, so be it, because he's already in a gold deficit. If they opt for the fight, he just wins out because he brings a lot more utility to this fight at the moment. So a little bit confused why PSG opt for the play, but I mean, gold-wise, they aren't being punished. And J-Team, though, they get everything they wanted. They burn the teleport onto Hanabi when it's a straight up 5v5 scenario where their composition is still probably better, and they still get the dragon. It's hard to say that you wouldn't take that as J-Team.
Yeah, J-Team have to feel so comfortable about this one. We are taking a look at the driver trades, and honestly, they're not that bad. He's starting to scale past the Renekton. And he does have that Sunfire for extra damage and the wave clear. So, so far, enjoying his build. This looks probably one of the best games that we have seen from Driver in the playoffs, at least in terms of the early game. Though Hanabi will still get his due here, getting lots of auto attacks down onto this tower. And there is absolutely zero chance that Driver ever kills him. So he's pretty safe to just... he's just fronting right now as Driver. He's like, I've got some... So... Hanabi is going to be forced to use the Dominus just in case someone does show up here. A good find here from Driver. In the meantime, I do want to see more out of Bay. You know, this is a good start from him. He does a lot of damage, especially to these backliners. So if he can still pop something in before an objective fight, that could swing the game right back in PSG's way.
Yeah, now has the Ludens completed. We do have to remember he is going for the Merc Treads because of the amount of CC and a decent chunk of magic damage coming out from J-Team. So he will have the burst, but at the same time, when you compare across the Rift, Uniboy also has his looted. So it's not going to be as impactful as maybe we might have imagined. No Swark boost to add that extra burst potential, and it will be J-Team owning 3 out of 4 objectives at the start.
In the meantime, PSG furiously peeing on the bot side tower. Hanabi says, this one's a gimme. I'm going to take this entire thing. Bay walks in onto Little V, but spots Enso, instantly pops back out. And with J-Team taking the Herald, I want to ask you, where do you think their next point of attack is going to be here? As Bay gets caught by the dredge line. Yeah, PSG in the meantime, just happy to take away their tower in the bot lane, a full tower at that.
I would have preferred that they use the investment to try and break the mid tower, but as they are topside right now, it's going to be a 3v3,
Here comes a
3v4.
collapse. The TP is going to come in on the side of Uniboy. Bay can't find the assassination, and in comes the counterpunch by Kong Yue. They get Bay. They also find the volley bear, and now Unified has to go use a defensive feather storm, but he can't get away from Kong Yue. We're running out of mana, does get tagged down, and finally Unified is allowed to leave that fight. But that was, once again, PSG trying to close the gap with 4 members minus Hanabi, and they just can't pull off the mechanical plays. They don't find the crowd control at all.
Yeah, they miss out on the crowd control, and then Unified is showing up here at the same time as Uniboy, but Uniboy just brings a little bit more value with this Syndra controlling more space at the moment here, and Unified holds on to that ultimate for a very long time, eventually pops it, but just unable to find really any purchase in that last fight. So PSG, once again, trying to pull the trigger, trying to go for a more tempo-oriented play, end up falling very, very flat. And I think they feel the pressure of this composition right now, knowing that, hey, we have a LeBlanc, we have the lethality 80 carry, we also have this Volibear. So all 3 of these champions kind of slowly get outscaled. So we have to go now, but J-Team just understanding that.
Kaiwing is going to get isolated here, but he has a stasis to keep himself alive. Meanwhile, Hanabi very happy to just take another tower. Yep. I really want to see this Hanabi build, because he has to build very differently from the way Driver builds his Renekton. Yes. I'll say that at the very least. I don't think Tank Renekton's going to do much this game. In the meantime, J-Team happy to just inch closer to that objective, and now Driver has his TP, so Hanabi can't even take that top tower.
Yeah, that top tower is going to be protected by Driver, and I mean the changes. PSG this time around opted away, I should say, from the 5v5, and J-Team, they just kind of stick to their guns. They really didn't change a whole lot of their composition. Really, the only big change was, hey, we'll swap Driver over to a tank instead of a fake tank in Renekton. If you're going to build items, at least make it synergize with the champion, and then they drop the Graves for this Hecarim. So still opting for a 5v5 composition, but perhaps even amplifying their 5v5 capabilities, and it's really showcased here because of the lack of 5v5 power from PSG.
Yeah, that was, I had to say, I was kind of chuckling by the attempt there from PSG. They missed the Leona ult, and then you have the Distort bringing back Moonlight Vigil back into the rest of the team. Yeah, it was not very well choreographed. Let's see if Little V can survive this one, though. Bay comes in with the Distort, misses the chains, but still very close to taking him down. PSG will get a tower for their troubles. Nice find right there.
Yeah, and now is one of those cases where the Philios is really, really strong and hard to kill because he has that Bloodthirster. Usually we talk about the second item, Bloodthirster, as really slowing down his build, but in this instance, you're really only worried about getting picked off. So if you have that extra sustain and you have a wave in front of you, you will pretty much always be topped off in preparation for these objective fights where you're already really strong. So I like the defensive approach when you are stronger in the 5v5. And that's exactly what J-Team have.
Kong're just going to run into Bay. They're clearing out for the jungle at this point. Still 3 minutes in. It will be a Cloud Soul. So really nice for a composition that does have the Hecarim. It's always fun to see Hecarim speed around the map. And so far for PSG, I'm not sure how they're going to... They still have the gold lead, surprisingly enough. But if you look at across the board, most of the gold is actually concentrated on Renekton. That is descaling and doesn't do much in the 5v5. And also on Tubei, who just hasn't been able to get assassinations off after the Bloodthirster. If you look at Unified, he's actually so far behind the curve. This is one of the few games, I think, in my own memory where I've seen Unified this far behind.
And Unified just really, really underperforming in this particular game. Also did struggle in the CFO series. We saw Shun really go toe-to-toe, and this is probably, I mean, this is the AD carry that most of us would label as the best AD carry in the league, and so far, not really living up to it. Yes, Lil V didn't look great in game number 1, but I would say it was more compositionally rather than himself as a player. Still managed to find some kills, but now, I mean, PSG, they really feel the timer ticking now.
Oh, that was kind of hilarious. I just saw Juhan trying to close the gap, and Konger just right on noped out of there. He ran so incredibly fast, never turned around. And the horse proves to be the faster animal between himself and the bear. Meanwhile, PSG still sticking to a 1-3-1. I think at least PSG have identified a very clear condition on how to drag this game out a little bit. Hopefully find some picks when people are out of rotation and hold on to this gold lead. Kudos where it's due. They still have done that, but now is the real answer. They have to fight a 5v5 against this comp in 1 minute.
Yeah, it will be Cloud Soul, which you have to love for a champion like the Hecarim. Gives you that additional damage. The move speed also really to help kite out the fights. Very, very useful for an Aphelios who can struggle navigating the fights. So overall, I love the opportunity given to J-Team here in this game, knowing that, hey, we need Dragon Soul. If we get Dragon Soul, all of a sudden these team fights can be a lot easier for us to fight, even though they're already looking pretty good at the moment anyways.
PSG, with the side lane control, is able to move into the river early. They will have that potential to just snipe people out as they come in, so very well done on that part. The J-Team are still forcing their way in. Juhan has to give up ground. He's running really fast for a bear, dropping to all fours to get on out of there. And J-Team now wrestled back control. Bay could be the most pivotal piece right here. He has 3 kills. He has the damage. Let's see if he can find the assassination so far. Oh, Bay still gets tagged out earlier on. Small win there for Uniboy. And PSG are trying to play this from 2 flanks. Such a difficult fight. But on the left side, Kaiwing already starting out this one. They're trying to tag down onto Enso. And they get the Drake. Most importantly enough, they chase J-Team away, and Driver not able to find the knockback either. Strong win for them. Driver goes in for more, flashes in, but that's all they can take. So PSG out of a really difficult situation. They managed to win that one.
And that's actually a big victory for them, because it allows them to continue to play the side lanes, denying that soul and also denying the Elder Spawn from coming up 5 minutes earlier. But J-Team still superior team fight composition, especially, of course, with the tank Gragas. How do you kill this tank Gragas? We saw this adaptation in the Beyond Gaming series, right, Clement? Where, hey, if you pick an Ahri or a LeBlanc in the mid lane who doesn't have high persistent DPS, we'll just go for a hyperscaling tank. We can just hard stack armor, and you just can't kill them because, I mean, you have an AP threat up in or you don't have a high enough AP threat in the mid lane, and you're running a lethality AD carry.
This is kind of the big shift from PSG. We just have not seen them really play tempo much throughout this split. They've been very, very slow. They've been very methodical and risk averse, and extremely good at that, no doubt in my mind. But the tempo game You know, you really have to make use of your strong points, and unfortunately, I feel like this game PSG has sort of missed those. They've let those fly by, and they're gonna have to outplay as hard as they just did, because I don't think it gets easier from this point forward, as you mentioned. So, you know, maybe we'll see how they dish on the team fight. This is where PSG is the strongest, though. I think their team fight, out of our remaining 3 teams, they are the best at choreographing these weird engages, these flank angles, and keeping Bay hidden until the very last second.
Yeah, but they still haven't found a way to get Hanabi involved.
True. Does Hanabi want to get involved, though? I mean, that's kind of my
he's
question.
0-0-0 with a 200 gold bounty. I mean, Renekton, at this point, he's pretty much exclusively a split pusher, right? Because 2 items, he's kind of capped. He's already going towards more of these tank itemization afterwards. But, like, somehow he has to 1v9 this game. And right now, I'm not seeing that angle.
I got some crazy ideas. Would you fancy just going for, like, Blade of the Ruin King and saying, you know what, I'm just side lane Croc. I'm never 5v5ing.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have gone for the Gore Drinker. Maybe you go for the Divine Sunder or the Triforce just to get the extra Sheen procs, to be fair.
Oh, yeah, the Sheen procs would be really nice against the towers that you're talking about here. But it's so awkward from Renekton. Like, even in the last fight where PSG won, Renekton didn't get to do anything. It was just like, I'm closing down this ramp, and
yes, Thornmail.
I feel like old habits do die hard. The problem with this build is, like, even if he goes tank, I don't think he wins. Like, he's still not tankier than Hecarim. Yeah, he's just... I feel like J-Team actually reversed psychology to Hanabi. You know, they made him believe that tank Renekton is actually somewhat a decent pick.
I mean, it was going well at the start, right? We go 2 damage items at the start, but unfortunately, this 3rd item, he's pivoting towards more of the team fight, knowing that, hey, this is where the rest of the game is going to go towards.
True.
I'm not sure
this
if that's
is your
the correct
standard
adaptation.
build. This is your standard build, but this is these are some very weird circumstances where you have to go for the all-in 200 IQ plays, because I feel like the rest of your team, so far, like, if we think about how PSG got here, they just kind of fumbled themselves multiple engages where, honestly, I'm not even sure they were supposed to win. So, yeah, just PSG not able to close down on these early game picks, and now they have a Renekton who's also building tank, and it's just the worst Gragas. Look at Gragas at this point. Like, I'm pretty sure this Gragas actually just beats out the Renekton in team fights. So, here we go. 20 seconds.
And now when you think about, okay, this composition from the side of PSG, how do we win these fights? It's about generating picks. But on the flip side, we already have Zhonya's completed.
Bay gets caught out! He might just go down! 300
clutch
HP!
Save coming in from Kaiwing, but now they're on the chase.
Yeah, and Enzo is still incredibly healthy. Little V goes in with the Gale Force to kill. Flashes forward. Unified has to return the flash as well, and J-Team crushed down on this one.
That's sold, but PSG, they're trying to alleviate pressure by going straight for the Baron. We'll see if J-Team do bite. They don't have enough damage to burst out Baron. That's the issue, because you are running a lethality 80 carry, so there's just no persistent DPS, reliable DPS onto a Baron buff that they can actually make this play and threaten J-Team to move over. Now Bay moves in. That's one auto. That's one auto.
You know, the thing I was talking about Bay is like, he's got the damage, his little block. I don't think that's true anymore. At least definitely not against the current game state. Hanabi, once again, he joins up for the fight, gets absolutely nothing. But at least he will take this tower down. We're finally seeing J-Team trying to respond right here. Hanabi getting some spider senses. Maybe he was able to catch out some vision right here. Enzo doesn't want any part of that Croc, or does he? Oh, we do have the TP on the backside. Level V is going to be walking into Bay.
Oh, this is a good opportunity. This is the best chance.
Low. Can Hanabi find Little V? He gets him. The main damage dealer is down. Uniboy can't join the fight. This is PSG's fight to win here. They also get the Hecarim. Driver has to run on out of here. Hanabi not going to let him do it so easily.
Get out.
Oh, Hanabi over chases. He falls down.
No.
And that was a Baron opportunity. Oh.
Yeah, you have to say, like, if they were able to get those 2 kills and get out, that was a clear Baron angle. But because they still have the jungler advantage, they might still go for it. Driver teleporting in. They have vision on the Baron pit. I don't think they can do this anymore. Beauty Boy, he's so strong.
Driver is gonna try. Bay going for the side flank route. PSG are not letting this one go. Juhan even has to burn kind of a smite, but they finally pull off of the Baron. That was getting a little bit too dicey. I think he called it right there. Can't finish.
As we get to see the replay, Hanabi, I mean, he goes on a bit of an adventure, but really this ward behind them in this Raptor area, that's the MVP of this fight, because that allows Bay to dump out a lot of damage, force the stopwatch out of Lil V, and then he's caught in a really bad spot, so they're able to finish off that kill, burn the stopwatch as well, which is a key 650 gold investment, and still get Konya. But unfortunately, because they lose Hanabi, that's the really big frontline champion for them removed. So that's why that Baron was really hard for them to actually try and finish off.
They just getting 300 damage on Driver. Definitely needs to find the backline for that. And I do want to give some compliments to Uniboy. I think he was the one that really saved that team fight. He got a 2-man knockback right there, and did make Hanabi actually over-calculate the damage he was going to get from his own carries, and he flashed out from the Featherstorm too, so really nicely done. Hanabi fails the slice and dice, but nobody knows about it, so he gets to walk right out.
And now here, Lil V has the GA completed, so he's going to be still very, very safe in these team fights. It's going to take a lot of effort once more to find the pick onto this Aphelios. So even though they were able to burn the stopwatch, more than enough gold, complete this GA, and pretty much things remain the same. Hanabi, he has to get a god flank.
Yeah, we do have Little V with 0 summoners, but he does have the GA. He can respawn again, and J-Team do have a very strong lead in terms of the team fights.
They don't have to force anything from the side of the J-Team.
Again, they are on the scaling side. You know, they can afford to wait this one out. I feel like they're just angling for a bait here. Maybe they can catch out Hanabi on the flank. I've been loving this version of Hanabi, the Hull Breaker, Agent Hanabi in the backline. It's very entertaining to watch. It's completely different to what we usually see from Hanabi, but I like it so far.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of the build seems a little bit underwhelming, but now has the GA, of course, a little bit extra damage with the BF sword item. So that will help out a little bit, but I think everything just boils down to J-Team trying to burn as much time from PSG around this Baron area, and the real game plan is just all in at this Elder Dragon in 90 seconds. So I think we'll see J-Team spend a lot of time towards this area, because if they force PSG to continue staying in this area as well, it means that they're not going to have the vision around that Elder. And it looks like they're actually going to start things out. Hanabi, again, needs a god flank.
Oh, but Kongre goes right in for the turnaround.
Look at the damage!
Already close to death here, and PSG have not found any purchase into J-Team's composition. J-Team gonna go right around and start going through this Baron once again. Hanabi's dominance is about to drop. Bay trying to look for a flank angle. Unified dealing a lot of damage over the wall here with the Qs, but Kongre and Enzo are the 2 targets here. Let's see if they can find him. Uniboy on the back flank, gonna deal a lot of damage to Bay. One more auto attack, and he's down! That should be J-Team decidedly winning this one. Little V takes half his HP, but he can heal right up with the Bloodthirster. Juhan has to be the one to kind of save this one, but the TP is coming in. Yeah, Kongre and Enzo not able to survive this one, but like you said, Elder Dragon is up.
Yeah, again, it's all about burning as much time as possible. Yes, they started out the Baron. Yes, it almost looked like they were committed to the Baron, but surely that wasn't the plan, because it all boils down to this fight, Clement. It's J-Team with a minor gold lead, but a large scaling advantage in this 5v5. Can PSG find the flank vehicles without their LeBlanc?
And it is a 4v5 here, so the only options to go across the wall are going to come from Juhan. Hanabi still has his flash. We have seen crazier things happen at Elder. You do still just tag down on the Elder if you just vanish the last hit. And we have Enzo with a very preemptive use of the ultimate coming in from the backline. It's going to be a 50-50, but Kongria secures the Elder at the very end. Hanabi has to flash away. That was a very hairy situation, but J-Team do win out, and they're running straight for the Baron.
Now with this extra Elder Dragon buff, they can do really anything with it. Of course, Kongria is low, so he's going to go for the recall. They won't immediately turn for the Baron buff, but you can immediately set up fight lines. And any tag coming in from Uniboy now is just going to result in a one-shot. He can immediately dump down the ultimate, and with the bonus execute, it should just be the fight. And now I think PSG, they understand they can't fight against this Elder because they have their top lane in jungle chilling out in this bottom half of the map. They exchange Baron for a tower, so it's a small exchange, and yes, they still lose out on the trade, but at the very least, able to get something on the map, knowing that they cannot 5v5 against the Elder.
Yeah, PSG are forced to wait this one out, and honestly, I don't see a win con here for PSG. Things have just gotten so bad. They don't have the scaling, and this composition just can't fight front to back. It has to come from Bay, but so far, Uniboy, because I guess he's a LeBlanc player himself, has been able to catch Bay out on every single flank. I was so impressed by Uniboy, able to just keep tabs on whatever angle Bay might be coming from.
Yeah, he's just read Bay like a book on this LeBlanc. He's not a big risk taker, so even though he got 3 kills very early on, just didn't push to the advantage hard enough, and now J-Team 5v5 composition again. Don't take a lot of damage from this assassin because they have big frontline champions to eat cooldowns. They just win here.
Caught out. Oh, Unified nearly goes down, has to pop the heal. Kaiwi able to stasis away this time, but in comes Hakaram. Kongre trying to find the back line. The dredge line won't land, and at least PSG get to go back to their fountain, but they have to fight this wave. They're going to use this Elder Dragon to every last second right here. JT now taking down the Nexus. PSG, you have to go in right now. It will be Enzo to start this one off, but he does have to stasis. He will stay alive. Hanabi goes for the back line, doesn't even get to touch Uniboy. He gets knocked right back, and now Uniboy charges forward. He gets the double kill into the back line. The Nexus is wide open, and J-Team strike back.
J-Team from beginning to end of this game. Yes, Hanabi was put onto the Renekton. Yes, he got ahead. Yes, he was able to split push towers, but in the end, when it boiled down to it, it was all about the 5v5, and J-Team absolutely murdered PSG.
We had so many questions about J-Team. I personally thought this was going to be a clean 3-0. PSG had so many win conditions. They had the early game, a lead for quite a while in this one too. If you think about the setup, like, Bay was up 3-0. Their top lane was up by over 20 CS. If they just held on to that, I feel like they could have been so much more explosive. But once again, we saw Unified and Kaiwi just walk into a fight that they had no business winning. And they even had vision of Kongria. It was just...
Yeah, they constantly forced those 3v3s down in the bot lane, and it just didn't work out, even though they knew it was going to be a 3v3 in that second instance. So a lot of the leads that they were able to kind of accumulate in the soul lanes didn't get were given back in the bottom side. And this time around against the Aphelios pick, we know they're going to pick Aphelios. They even early picked first rotation the Aphelios pick. We know that they're taking this pick. Why are we allowing this Aphelios to play the game? That's the real question.
Yeah, he gets to just scale through it so easily. They went for preemptive heralds right here. And I feel like PSG are not going to revisit this draft anytime soon whatsoever. They're definitely not going to go for tempo. And I wonder if they don't go for tempo, does that like shift Unified off of Xayah? Because so far Unified has just been a Xayah bot. I don't really understand his fixation on this one.
Yeah, it's really interesting with PSG favoring Xayah so much, because yes, technically it has an advantageous matchup into a lot of the current AD carries, and but the thing is, if we consider the Xayah pick in this particular series, Unified hasn't looked good on it, and Lil V has also looked pretty terrible on it as well. So I think in this series in particular, we should just drop the Xayah altogether and put Unified back on the Jinx, given that scaling power, given the pop-off potential, and it's still a favorable matchup into the Aphelios.
For sure, you outscale them late game, so at least you always are going to have a win condition. I'm just kind of surprised when PSG, they know they don't want to play tempo, but they keep on drafting the Xayah anyway. Another big question about the draft: if you're PSG's coach, if you're Corgi, do you blue side blind pick gameplay? Are you willing to do that?
I mean, absolutely. I think the game plan has to change drastically coming in from J-Team in order to ruin the game plan pick. They need a lot of range, which they just haven't shown a whole lot of. In PCS, we don't play a lot of range compositions. We don't go for our enchanters along with the range top laner. So as long as you try and limit the effect of driver, I think you're going to be sitting very, very pretty, because even if he brings out the Jace, if you early gank that and he falls behind, then the J-Team range composition idea just really falls apart very quickly.
Yeah, and that has been J-Team's strongest point. They're not a very good engage comp themselves, so if you just take the range advantage with Jinx and GP, J-Team now will be the ones that have to play through other angles. That's kind of our discussion and what we're thinking about Game 3 draft. Take a look at the gold graph right here. Yes, PSG did remain steady leads, but they never broke out. They never were able to close down on the big kills and snowball further. So when time came, when J-Team hit their 4 items, especially on the Aphelios, they're able to just roar back and take the game all the way. Massive win here for J-Team. PSG, I still think tactically and draft-wise, they still have a big lead, but what I'm concerned is just the consistency that we've seen from postseason. Just Unified and Kaiwing just seem very, very shaky in week 3, and so far I have not been impressed by their coordination like I usually am between their Korean mid-jungle duo and their Mandarin-speaking bot lane. They just don't seem to gel well.
Yeah, this is very surprising given how strong they looked with their rotational gameplay early on in the season. And we were talking about, hey, this is a team that's going to take a long time to ramp up because of the language barrier. But they ramped up a lot faster, and now they took a really bad time to ramp down. But Kongria, he'll be the MVP. He really read the map like a book. He was down in that bot lane for those 3v3s and turned them absolutely on their heads.
Such a beautiful play. He got the 2-man onslaught of the shadows in the bot lane, instantly killing Unified right there. And he was able to completely match Juhan. We never saw the mid-jungle really get to roam free with the Volibear and the LeBlanc from the PSG side. So Kongria still doing a great job, even though I feel like PSG has the correct read on draft. I feel like the 2 bans throwing over to Lee Sin and Viego have been so pivotal at just keeping this early game completely quiet from J-Team.
Yeah, for the most part, J-Team shut down in the early game, but Hecarim this time around, if you're able to match the ganks, then it doesn't really matter. You don't have to be proactive with this composition on the side of J-Team, because on the flip side, you have that ticking time bomb of all our champions are going to ramp downwards with the Renekton, with the LeBlanc, not having the burst damage to get through this front line. So eventually, J-Team were able to just war of attrition it out.
We have seen some very costly lessons coming for PSG. We'll find out in Game 3 if there are also lessons learned, though. Don't go anywhere. This match is just begun.